I have promised myself no more fish tanks. So I'm building a pond in my bedroom. So here's everything we're gonna need for this project, with the exception of two much smaller planters that are going to be used to build a structure inside leading up to the fountain. So this is a 20-inch diameter planter from Lowe's, coming in at $28. And just as an aside, yes, Lowe's does sell these planters in more reasonable neutral colors like white. This does not match with my current room color, which I knew was the case. But this is not this fountain's forever home. Editor's note: there's no way I wasn't going to get the teal version of that planter. Look how well it goes with the yellow and greens with the Creeping Jenny. Substrate, and that's going to be combined with these Leca clay balls, which help to keep roots moist, but not overly so. I did have to buy a mini submersible pump for about $9 from Amazon. It came with its own tubing, and those two items are going to be the main functionality structures to get our fountain up and running. I'm expecting the smaller two planters to arrive tomorrow, so when those are here, we'll get started and I'll walk y'all through it. Did y'all think I was gonna try to pull this off alone? My trusty assistants are cutting aquarium sponge and a ring here to line the bottom of the two smaller planters, which will be stacked, as shown here. A notch will be made for the pump's cord to come through, and the pump itself will be stashed under the bottom planter while its tubing runs right up through the drainage holes we knocked out of both. We've encased the pump in a betta-fish cup lined with more aquarium sponge, essentially creating a makeshift filter. As a bonus, my cousin provides us with a mini lecture on barometric pressure, but basically there's no chance of flooding here. Probably. I've previously gathered some big rocks from my yard to put in the top planter, and I'm filling in now with smaller gravel. For the two potted Creeping Jenny plants I got from Lowe's, in addition to the fern, I've replaced the soil in their pots with these clay balls to help wick moisture away from the roots. Everything in this pond will be grown hydroponically, meaning with its roots in nutrient-rich water, even the houseplants. Unfortunately, I've realized the binder clips I was going to use to attach the pots don't fit the thickness of the planter's rim, so my kitchen clips will have to hold them in place for now. And over a week later, I finally made it to Target to get some more discreet clips. They actually have pretty little flower designs on them, ironically. Part of the holdup was waiting for my other plants to arrive. I've added this dwarf water hyacinth, as well as 3 irises. All of these should eventually bloom purple flowers, fingers crossed. Up top, I'm tucking in some Anubias varieties I picked up at PetSmart. These are epiphytes, so while most people grow them completely underwater in aquariums, they'll do just fine up here with the roots tucked into the wet rocks. Just like I did for the Creeping Jenny, I'm removing most of the soil from these irises pots and clipping them to the side of the planter. And if you're wondering, yep, there are plants underwater here too. There will soon be a tiger lotus growing to the surface, and I stole several other aquarium clippings from my tanks to populate the planter bottom, which is covered in gravel and nutrient-rich substrate. The driftwood at the top is left over from an aquarium project as well, and I've actually covered it with moss that I collected from right outside. I also eventually ended up raiding my indoor planters and adding a few more houseplants. So what's left? Well, with all this water, we gotta have some fish, right? Technically, everything's ready for fish, except we have had a bit of a drop in temperatures this weekend, so I've held off since PetSmart, unsurprisingly, is out of white cloud minnows, and I don't think they usually ever carry rice fish, both of which are smaller fish that are a bit hardier. Anyway, I've been keeping a aquarium thermometer in the tank. It's down to the 50s outside right now, and as you can see, we're hitting about 68 degrees. My house is set to a balmy 70, but in this window seat at night, without the sunlight buoying up the temperatures, it is getting a little cold. So I'm waiting for warmer weather before we add any additions. Quick aside for all the OChem nerds out there, I've been testing the water parameters in the pond, just like I do with my aquariums, to ensure there's no ammonia or nitrite spikes, which are harmful to fish. I've largely avoided this by adding a bag of ceramic rings from my cycled, seasoned aquariums. This media already has beneficial bacteria on it, which breaks down harmful components. All the plant roots in here are also contributing, sucking out any ammonia in the water, and the parameters have stayed steady through some light ghost feeding I've done. Rotting food mimics the eventual bioload of fish poop. All that being said, this pond is more than ready for a small school of nanofish. And the last science note, I'm lucky enough to have tap water that comes from several natural ponds within my subdivision. I've tested extensively, and there's really no need for me to add a dechlorinator or use distilled or drinking water.